But what are your thoughts about the Diontae Johnson trade? I personally don't think it's going to happen. Or there's like the rumors to be traded. I think it's a 93.7 point the fans making it up. I think the Steelers need to have, if you trade him away, then you have another problem. Now, if Omar Khan trades him away, then we fix the problem, and we get like a top 10 draft pick or something. Fantastic. But what are your thoughts about trading away Diontae?
Okay, so the rumor that I heard was that Diontae to the Texans for their 12th and their something else. I can't remember now, 50 something or something like that. That's what I heard. Now, it's not going to happen. It just is not going to happen because, first of all, no one's going to want to take Johnson on. He's a veteran on a high wage. Nobody in that top 10 is going to want to take him because they've got other needs. They've got other ways to build. So that's the first thing. I heard Chris Carter talking about it earlier and Jenna Harner, two respected Pittsburgh journalists who, they're insiders. They talk to guys in the organization. They both said it's an absolute load of rubbish as well. It's lies. It's not going to happen. I'm not the biggest Diontae Johnson fan. I have got problems with him. I think it's something that he needs to develop in terms of the fact that he needs to stop running backwards. He needs to stop choking in big games against like the Bills and the Chiefs and people like that. But at the end of the day, the Steelers aren't going to trade away Diontae Johnson, who is essentially their wide receiver one, because the moment they trade him away, they create a gap at the top of the roster. And who are they going to, so what they're going to do? George Pickens, it's a lot for him to step up this season. He's going into his sophomore year. Allen Robinson, everyone says is a wide receiver 3. The Steelers are not going to take a wide receiver with a high draft pick. And I very much doubt, I don't know who is still available in free agency. They're not going to go out and try and get anybody. So I think it's an absolute load of rubbish.
Yeah, and I agree with you too. It's not to me like the Steelers, it's not that they couldn't do it. They could if they wanted to. And maybe they can maybe find a better replacement. But I don't think they will, because if they do trade away Diontae, then you have a hole there that doesn't – and right now there's not a hole. You have Diontae, you have Pickens, you have Robinson. You have Calvin Austin and Anthony Miller who are going to work back into this training camp and try and find a role for themselves. Like you said in your video, I think the other day, Calvin Austin's never played, and Anthony Miller, he hasn't played for a long time too. So you have Pickens who can play, future number 1, Diontae Johnson who can play, who is the number 1 at the moment, and then Robinson the vet. That's 3 receivers plus also passing to Freiermuth and the running backs. They should be fine there. Why would you then trade away Diontae to make another problem, right? I saw a tweet, and I was trying to bring it up this time, but I can't find it in the space of time. But Jeffrey Benedict, who does work for the Steel Curtain, he wrote a really funny tweet. He said, the minute the Steelers want, they preach for the last few weeks, the Steelers need a veteran receiver. We go and get one, and then you want to trade one away. So I just don't think it's going to happen. Now, if it does happen, I trust the organization, the way they've been playing things. Holy dooly, man. If they did it where they went and got a top pick and they got like the best corner or something, and then next minute they got like they pick up another free agent after the draft, or they got a sleeper in a receiver, and then Calvin Austin steps up and you have 3 or 4 good receivers on the team, fantastic. That's going to work. But why trade away one of your best players? Even though he had a really bad year last year, he's still one of the best route running receivers in the league that can get separation. Just a few things got to work on his game. A bit like Najee Harris last year when he was getting a bit of trouble, where he was running not so flash and wasn't being his big body self. DJ, that was actually one of the funniest tackles I think I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen someone run forward to run backwards. It was so weird. I don't know how he did that. He ran forward and he jumped back and he fell back 5 yards and got tackled backwards. So, yeah, he just got to play. He's got to play his game. He's got to play in big moments like you talk about. Play those big moments and help the team. But I can see a good connection with Kenny Pickett as well to DJ as well. So let's see what happens.
I mean, I heard a good point. I can't remember who made this. It was someone like DK, or it was Chris Carter, or it might have even been Noah Strackbine, talking about Diontae Johnson, and they said that they don't feel that he's had a fair crack at the whip in Pittsburgh, because if you go back across his time in Pittsburgh, he arrived in 2019 ready to play, and Big Ben went down injured. So obviously he worked with Duck and Mason. Then in 2020, he did well for the start of 2020 when we had Big Ben back, But then the second half of 2020, he tailed off, but Ben did as well. His best season came when Ben was the poorest reflection of Ben in 2021. Ben was struggling that year, wasn't he? I mean, he really did, bless him, struggle. And then he works as a rookie quarterback last year. The point that was made is, if you'd put Diontae with prime Big Ben, would you have seen a better version of him? And would he have got better quicker? You know, and as Pickett gets better and matures, are we going to see a better version of Diontae Johnson? Which I thought was a very interesting point.
I'd say, look, and Brian does make a good point. And look, I do respect Brian's opinion. And look, we can have the discourse. The only thing in the internet world is when someone starts calling you idiot, stuff like that. I'm not saying that Brian is. Brian, you're fantastic. But this is what I like about doing these shows, because we can have this discussion. And I love this. When me and Owen, when we see stuff like this, how happy are we to have discussions when it's formulated like this, right? It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Brian says, trade DJ away, get a good draft pick, save money, receive a guy fresh on a rookie new contract. He was never a true number one receiver. Trade him now away has some trade value. Do you see any logic or any interest in that? I can see Brian's point. You know, you have an older receiver. Some other teams might want a veteran like DJ. You trade him away, you get a new pick, then you go and you fill that role that the Steelers do anyway with the receiver. They always do it. The only thing I would say is then, what does the receiver depth chart look like in terms of, do you need another veteran guy in there? Are you going to hope that Calvin Austin is fantastic or Anthony Miller can go crazy? Do you need 3 or 4 top receivers? What are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, yeah, I can see merit in that argument. Of course I can. You know, anytime you can get a decent... Look, if someone came tomorrow and said, right, we'll give you a top 15 pick for Diontae Johnson, I'd snap their hands off. Of course I would, because there's receivers in this draft that are very good wide receivers. There's obviously Jordan Addison, who is high quality and obviously was brilliant with Kenny Pickett at Pitt. There's... Now I'm going to massacre this guy's name, Jackson the Jigba something, isn't there? That him?
Yep. He's the highest rate, I think.
He's the best top wide receiver in this draft. Now, guys like Addison and the Jigba will be still around at 12, 13, 14, 15, because the first 10 picks will be the likes of, you know, Jalen Carter, Christian Gonzalez, people like that, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. So they're going to still be around there. So if someone came to me tomorrow and said, right, you can have pick 14 and you can afford Diontae Johnson, I'd go, okay, then that's fine. Yeah, I'll take that, because I can go and get Addison, or I can go and get Jackson the Jigba, and I can put them into my organization. And I've got Allen Robinson there to help bring them on. So yeah, I'd go for that. Of course I would. And I think, you know, if Omar Khan on draft night gets that phone call, you know, like they did the Eagles got, was it AJ Brown last year? I can see them taking it. They could take it. It could well be something they do.
Yeah, and I agree too. Like, I'm not the Steeler Nation Johnson fan club. I just think in my mind right now is I don't think the Steelers would do that. However, this whole offseason I haven't picked anything right.
No,
I picked nothing right. I thought they were going to keep Jack. I thought they were going to keep Spillane. I thought they were going to keep Sutton, and they made moves to improve and get players in at those points. So you're exactly right. This could happen, but I'm not. But if I were to be on a gauge, like on a 1 out of 10 right now, I'd say 7 out of 10. I don't think it's happening. But you're exactly right. If we get a 13th or 14th, get a big pick, and Omar Khan makes moves, and it's better for the team, then yeah, see you later, Johnson. Bye, catch you, mate. Like, you know, it happens, and then we're going to talk about it. But right now, I don't think it's going to happen, because the Steelers have their receiver set. But we could be in for a few surprises. So, but the thing I find funny is yeah, when we get a receiver, we talk about building the depth, and the minute we get one, we want to get rid of another one. That was my point. I think that was also Jeffrey's point too in the tweet. So we'll see what happens in that aspect. But I'm with you. Like, if we're sitting there in UK or Australia and we're waiting around and we see Steelers have a trade and we're like, oh my goodness, they're trading away Diontae Johnson, we're going to lose our minds. Yeah. We're going to lose our minds, wherever that may be, to get whatever player. We're going to lose our minds. I think Brian said too, like, he's got 2 years and they're paying him a lot of money. I guess we'll have to wait and see. have to wait.
I'll
and
be
see.
honest, Mark. I think, you look at it, and Omar Khan will do whatever he can, I think, to improve this team and make this team a contender next year. I'm not saying for a Super Bowl, but to make some noise in the playoffs this year, and then 2 years, 3 years down the line, be a Super Bowl contender. But he'll do whatever it takes. And I think Diontae Johnson as trade away is a possibility. I think, to be honest with you, there are only a certain handful of players on this team that the Steelers would never consider trading away. And, that Kenny Pickett, Najee Harris, Minka Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward. That's probably it, to be honest with you.